Okay, Jace Tunnell here with Dr. Donna Shaver and Cynthia Rubio, plus my family, Catherine, Jack, and Parker. And we are here at the National Seashore and releasing baby Kemp's Ridley sea turtles that just came out. They just hatched. Today, releasing 144 baby sea turtles, and these are from 2 different nests. And so anybody familiar with the Padre Island National Seashore, let me get over here for you. These were found at mile markers 18 and 19.
And I just want to cut in just for a second, and Jace will start in again. This is Dr. Donna Shaver on Dr. Donna Live at 6:45 on Ridley TV, bringing you the state sea turtle attack, the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, and highlighting the more than 40 years of binational multi-agency coordination that we've been conducting to try to help save this species so that it can be enjoyed by future generations, and others can go wow when they see the hatchlings for the first time and marvel at their beauty and fascinated with their behaviors, all the way from the hatchlings to the adults when they come up and nest. This morning we're releasing hatchlings that have actually gone into their frenzy. We don't hold turtles for show and tell. These turtles are released as soon as they enter their very active state called a frenzy, and they're brought down to the beach and set free. And this is the very same stretch of beach where we released the hatchlings from the translocation project, where we tried to form a secondary nesting colony of Kemp's Ridley turtles as a safeguard against extinction, so that if a political or an environmental catastrophe was to occur in Mexico, there'd be a safe area where Kemp's Ridleys could nest and be protected. And the National Seashore, a very special area to the Tunnell family and to many people, and myself included, was selected as a location for this because Kemp's Ridley is a native nester here, and we are the longest stretch of undeveloped Barrier Island beach in the United States. And so we could protect the nesting turtles, the nests, and the habitat from development. The project was envisioned by pioneers from Corpus Christi. In the 1970s, Dr. Archie Carr and Dr. Henry Hildebrand were looking around for where did the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle nest. No one knew. They thought perhaps it might even be a hybrid. Well, in the 1960s. So in the 1963, Dr. Henry Hildebrand found a very famous film, it later became famous, a very important film that showed an estimated 40,000 Kemp's Ridley turtles nesting on this one stretch of beach at Rancho Nuevo, Mexico. And so they're searching for that beach, trying to discover where these turtles nested, which had gone on for decades. Finally, once that film was discovered, then it was known, and it was all due to Dr. Hildebrand discovering that film made in 1947 in the early 1960s and showing it at a herpetological conference in Austin, Texas. And Henry Hildebrand was from Flower Bluff, Texas, and worked at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and was a good friend of your father's, of Jace's father, who is a tremendous icon in the conservation community in the Texas area and even the whole Gulf of Mexico. So Dr. Hildebrand happened to be a neighbor of Robert Whistler, who was the chief naturalist at Padre Island National Seashore. And they talked about the plight of the Kemp's Ridley and how it nested here historically, and wouldn't it be really great to have this secondary nesting colony so you don't have all your eggs in one basket let's have this safe area in the U.S. in case a political or an environmental catastrophe was to occur in Mexico. These turtles would have this safe haven. And back then, when the project was envisioned in the 1970s, they did not know what those factors might be. And today, when we look at it, we could say, well, drug cartels, because it's a very active threat down there on the beaches in Tamaulipas, Mexico, where this main nesting beach is, and sea level rise and other factors. So those pioneers were very forward thinking, and Dr. Hildebrand and Robert Whistler prepared an action plan with the help of our National Park Service Regional Office, and brought in folks from other agencies, and that blossomed into the overall binational recovery plan for the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle. So we in Corpus Christi have a lot to be proud of. We've had a major role in the conservation of this species for decades, and Dr. Thane Wibbles, who's looked at the history a lot, said if the actions of a few key people hadn't happened, we might have lost this species. So hats off to Dr. Hildebrand and Bob Whistler and getting these things started so that we have a chance of saving these animals. And they were almost lost in the blink of an eye within one generation. When I was going through my dad's belongings and missing him, I looked at his ring from the Naval Academy, and the year that he graduated was 1947. He graduated the year that very famous film was made, when the population was robust, and here comes his daughter to try to save the species in 1980, and graduated my undergrad school in 1981. So literally one human generation, the population crashed. And when I was young, 20 years old, my first time here, first time seeing the ocean, Padre Island National Seashore, Kemp's Ridley turtles, I fell in love, and I felt like it was our moral obligation to try to save this species that man almost decimated from the overharvest of eggs as a supposed aphrodisiac and large-scale taking, and then also incidental capture of juveniles and adults in fisheries operations. And so we've been working ever since with many, many partners to try to recover the species and form this secondary nesting colony. And we're really happy about strides that have been made, increases that we've had, and the opportunity for you to get to see these. When I first came here in 1980 as a 20-year-old, we were lucky to find a nest every 3 years. And so this was a rare thing, but the numbers have grown, and the low point for the Kemp's Ridley population was only 702 nests worldwide in 1985, down from the 40,000 in one day. And in 2017, we had 353 Kemp's Ridley nests found in Texas. So we really have the seeds of possibility for that secondary nesting colony, like those pioneers envisioned. So,
well,
hats
and
off.
Thanks to all the work that you've done all these decades, and really the partnership is key that you mentioned, and it takes a village, as they say. So.
Absolutely takes a village, and I'm so glad that you're here, because the Mission Aransas National Estuarine Research Reserve that you are director of, which is the umbrella over the ARC, the Animal Rehabilitation Keep, and your nesting and stranding programs, is a critical partner in this work. And can you talk to us a little bit about what you do there?
Yeah, so during the nesting season from April 1st to mid-July, you know, we have the volunteers that go out with our partners for Friends of the Ark, and they go out once a day, Mustang Island, and a couple times a week on San Jose Island, and look for nests. And then once we find those, we excavate the eggs and then bring them to you, Donna, and you incubate them, and then 55 days later get to do something like this. But then The other part of the partnership that we have is with the Rehabilitation of Sea Turtles. And so Tony Amos started the Amos Rehabilitation Keep back in the late 1970s. And so since then, you know, you and Tony worked very closely. Anytime y'all find a injured sea turtle, probably any animal, I know Tony would be there and take it to the facility there at the University of Texas Marine Science Institute, rehabilitate it with the hopes of having it released again.
And you guys have a great success rate with your rehabilitation efforts. And I want to add that my very first day working down here, there was a live stranded green turtle that was found that we brought up to that rehab facility.
Oh, really?
My very first day. So the partnership has been there all along through the years, and a large proportion of the turtles that are found stranded here end up going to the Ark for care, where we know they're in great hands and there's great survivorship. And Tony Amos, who founded the Ark, was so giving and compassionate to these animals and made sure that they got great care. Hurricane Harvey put a devastating blow on your facility, but you built it back even bigger and better than ever. And Tony would be so grateful for what you've done, Jace, and your leadership in making this such a success now. He left it in very good hands with you, so thank you.
Well, I think it's all thanks for that. You know, when Tony first started the Ark, he had 7 animals come in that first year. And now we average about 1,500 animals that come in.
Goodness.
So it's quite an undertaking. And so the staff, you know, Alicia Walker at the Ark, who's running the day-to-day operations and making sure everything happens. And then all the staff, huge thanks to them. And then, like I said, Friends of the Ark could not be done without the Friends of the Ark.
And volunteers are huge participants in your project,
Huge.
just like ours.
Yeah,
we couldn't do our work without our volunteers.
That's
we
what yeah.
love them.
Yeah, without volunteers, the Ark would not happen. Maybe I'll try to get down here and looking back towards y'all. I know y'all want to see all the sea turtles. This is how it's done. 55 days of incubation. Then they come out here on the beach, and these little guys make their way all the way down.
They're very cute.
Let me see if I can get a better angle for y'all here. And that's Jack with the GoPro there.
And once the eggs start hatching, they're on a 24-hour stay to make sure that
Let's see one that's going. Here, stay back. Let me get one. Now this is what y'all like to see, I'm sure. Now if y'all have any questions or comments as these turtles make their way to freedom, put them in the comments section. We've got folks, this is going to be live, so we can answer all your questions as we go along. Look at that little buddy there. Now these are Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. Let's go up a little bit closer so you can see one that's making it to the water. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that, but there he goes. Jack, back up. Back up, Jack. Okay, here's Jack doing a little video.
Okay.
You say anything to the camera?
So this is it doesn't
Do you
happen
like seeing all these turtles?
Yeah.
Down here? Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot, so this is a real special event.
Yeah, cool.
Unknowingly. And so we're glad to be able to reach them through social media. This is my first week doing any Facebook Lives like this, so I'm learning as I go along, and I appreciate you listening in, and I appreciate your support for this work. We couldn't do this work without the support of and assistance of so many organizations that have funded the efforts through the years, including, of course, the National Park Service, but many others in the United States and Mexico, partners in the local area, and volunteers. There's about 100 volunteers in the local community every year that help us out, just like Dan does with his efforts for San Jose and Mustang Island. And Jace's father is Dr. Wes Tunnell, and he is a tremendously important figure in Texas in the shaping of conservation that has gone on here for the last couple of decades, when his students, or 3 decades probably, from his students. When did his first students graduate, Jace?
Well, he started in 1974.
Oh my, okay,
So
50 then, for the last 5 probably.
Right.
5 generations, time flies. So Dr. Tunnell, everybody loved to take the classes of Dr. Tunnell over at what was called at the time Corpus Christi State University. And Dr. Tunnell formed the Center for Coastal Studies, and then was instrumental also in the formation of the Heart Research Institute. Many graduate students and many undergraduate students were inspired by Dr. Tunnell, and then went on to run conservation programs in Texas and elsewhere, as well as become professors all across the United States, handing that torch to the next generation, inspiring and educating, because none of us will be here forever, and none of us can do this work alone. And Dr. Tunnell was the kind of person that there was no one that would have a bad word to say about your granddad. Everyone loved him. Everyone respected him. Everyone knew how hard he worked. Everyone knew what an honest, ethical man he was. And I really valued that, and I really valued when he'd give me a compliment and he'd say that my major professor for my master's, Dr. Cheney, who passed along, he'd say, Dr. Cheney would have been proud of you for this. That meant a lot to me when your dad said that to me. And so that's why I try to pass along to you that I know your dad would be proud of you for the things you're doing, Jace. You know, you're just incredible work you're doing. You've got big footsteps to follow in, but you're doing a fantastic job at it.
Thank you. Well, and I want to mention here too, the Sammys. So your work and being recognized, and that people can actually go and they can vote for you to win the Sammys. And so is there a website or something people can go to?
There's a website and a page that they can go to vote, and it's what's open now is the People's Choice Awards, which enables daily voting. Everybody can vote daily, and we will have on our Facebook page Padre Island. Padre Island NS Division of Sea Turtle Science and Recovery. We'll post the page that has a link for people to vote. It's quite easy. It's down to the top 5 now for the People's Choice Award. Dr. Fauci, myself.
Some big names in there.
Absolutely. We're the only single ones, and the other 3 that are in the top 5 are teams of people with initiatives. And so they've got a big following because all the friends for different individuals involved in that. So anyway, I'm so honored and grateful, and thank you for mentioning that, and we'll have that link up. To me, I'm honored to be named for this as a finalist, but it represents the collective efforts of everyone. It really did take a village. It took a lot of people and organizations over a long period of time to get us where we are with this. And I'm so grateful for all that help. And we're hoping that we can bring one in for South Texas conservation, sea turtle conservation, inspiring the next generation here. But even being in the top 5 is remarkable because I'm the first National Park Service employee to be a finalist since 2008.
Oh, wow.
It's very rare.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is so great. Great for the area, and thanks for your leadership and I mean, making all this happen. So.
Well, and the idea behind the Sammys is actually, it's a really great one because we know that over time, you know, again, none of us are going to be here forever. We've got to have good people going into positions in the future. And they want to show people that have had successful careers in the federal government that found fulfillment, and then they gave back to the American public and really wanted to do a good job for the American public to help inspire those from the next generation to go into federal service and pick up that torch and carry things along. And we're going to need good people to go into federal service. So I'm very supportive of that message. I think it's important.
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, let me go down here.
Oh, we got to talk about the Turtle Project too. I saw
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got nurdles here. Nurdles and turtles. This for those that don't know, this little plastic pellet is what we call a nurdle, and it's there's 2 different types of plastic pellets that we usually find. The ones that float is polyethylene or polypropylene, and these little pellets is the raw material to everything plastic. So you see these other bits of plastic that are down here. These are broken up pieces of bottles and things that were actually products. But when you find these pellets, here's another one. These pellets are actually, have never been made into a product yet. They were lost somewhere along the way, either at the plastic manufacturing site, or they were lost on a rail car or dropped off in the ocean or something like that before it made it to its final destination of being melted down, put color to it, and made into a final product. So we have this citizen science project called Nurdle Patrol, where people go out for 10 minutes and they look at the high tide line and they count how many pellets they find in 10 minutes. Then they go to nurdlepatrol.org and they put how many pellets they found in there, and it shows up on a map. And then that map they are able to print up digitally or hard copy, and then they can take it to the regulatory agencies and say, look, this is the problem in our area and we want to do something about it. But not only that, those concentrations within that 10 minutes of the pellets they find tells us information about where these pellets might be coming from, so that we can try to stop it from happening. And so if y'all want to get involved in that, go to nurdlepatrol.org. There's a little video, 4-minute video there that'll show you how to do a patrol and how to put your data in and all that. Or you can just go to the website and check out the map and see what other people have found, and see if anybody in your area has found any.
And Jace, there's organizations all over the world now that are participating in this.
That's right. Yeah, and
exciting.
we just had a new partnership with the Great Nurdle Hunt, and they do something very similar around the world collecting these pellets. We try to focus our efforts, although we've had people in a bunch of different countries put data in, we try to focus our efforts in the United States because we think that that's where we can make the biggest
Sure.
impact.
Well, it was very interesting to see the data and where the largest concentrations were, and how that related to where the manufacturing areas are. And that's important to inform managers and to inform those plants too. Perhaps some don't know how many are getting loose, and how it's so much better to stop it at the source rather than trying to pick it up off the beach.
Exactly. Yeah. Picking it up off the beach is not solving the problem. So you're
Correct.
exactly right.
And who wants to eat a fish that's eating a bunch of nurdles?
Ooh.
That's not good. And more research over time as it comes out talks about the effects of those plastics getting into the bloodstream and possibly being passed along.
Well, and I know your work and the work with Dr. Pamela Plotkin and Tony Amos back in the late 1980s looking at the gut contents of sea turtles. We know that sea turtles are eating these pellets as well.
Yes.
And so, along with a lot of other plastics. So,
it's unfortunate, especially the little hatchlings. What we found through our research, and I love that work. I wish I could do that now full time instead of some of the other things I do. But it is fascinating when you look at the turtles on a broad scale of different species and different sizes. What we see is the little ones, the little post hatchlings, have the largest consumption, and that makes sense because when they swim out, they're swimming very vigorously until they get into the drift lines of sargassum or debris where things are concentrated. So these pieces of plastic are going to be concentrated in these drift lines when they're eating their tiny pieces of shrimp and crab and sargassum. They're also going to be picking up these plastics. And that's really not good. And who knows how many, probably millions of hatchlings die and just sink to the ocean, never to be found because they succumb due to that.
right, so we don't even know the full scale of the problem.
Probably not for that. The larger ones, we have a better chance of them washing ashore, stranded, but the little hatchlings, unless they die really close, you're not going to see them.
Right. Well, and the unfortunate thing is you can see, you know, these pellets, when they're in the sun, the UV light turns them an orangey color. And so right here I have a sargassum bulb next to one of these, and if the sun gets to these over the years, these like the white pellet, it will look just like it. You can't tell. And so organisms are eating these things.
Boy,
and so,
what a threat. That's terrible.
yeah.
That just makes me so sad. Well, what your organization and mine with the National Park Service, what we stress is public education. It is just critical. We all need to live on this earth together, the wildlife and the people, and we can do so in a more healthy, safe, harmonious manner through education. And if we educate people to not discard their trash, don't put your cup in the truck bed.
Yeah.
Your magic cup is going to fly out down the road onto the ground and could end up in the ocean.
That's right.
We all know that. You've got a great video that shows that.
At 55 miles an hour, apparently that's when all the cups fly out.
Well, but it's a practice that's heavily used, and we can easily avoid that. That's just something small. And I wanted to tell you, I told Texas State Aquarium yesterday, I was thinking the other day, as you get to, you're still far away from that, but in my career, as you realize you've got fewer years ahead than behind, some educational efforts that might inspire some of the young ones. I want to start a program where people can become a Ridley Ranger, just like my little dog Ridley, who wanted to help the Kemp's Ridley turtles. The Ridley was trained to help find the nests that were really difficult to locate, and he was the first dog that successfully did that. Unfortunately, he passed on. He was a little care terrier like Toto. Unfortunately, he passed on a couple of years ago, but he loved to help. He would sit there when he found a nest and he would watch. This little care terrier, you know, they love to run around and do things, they don't like to listen. He'd watch as I placed every egg into the box for protected care, and when I released hatchlings, he'd run behind and scare the gulls off, or if it was at night, he'd scare the crabs off. He had watched me weigh and measure hatchlings. He'd been around the hatchlings.
The perfect assistant.
He was the perfect
You know?
assistant. He really did care. And he was a nurturing little boy. And so I thought, let's start this program where we can inspire the kids to become a Ridley Ranger, and you pick up your trash. You tell your parents, hey, don't put the magic cup in the truck bed, put it in a bag, take it to the trash can, and you do other things. You drive responsibly on the beach. If you're driving on the beach, don't watch the speed limit. Watch carefully for nesting turtles during the nesting season. report any nesting or stranded turtles you see, and even adults could be a Ridley Ranger.
Yeah.
It just making a difference. So we'll think about maybe that in next year of everybody up here in this area working together.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll spread too. You're the one who knows how to spread those things. So.
Well, I mean, that sounds like an awesome program. I'm ready to sign up.
I need somebody to help me get it going. I'm a sea turtle biologist who has had to become social media and everything. And during the COVID, we've all had to be jacks of all trades.
That's right.
Yeah, and we're learning, but again, it's collaboration, education, inspiration, getting that next generation involved. And I think hearing that story about Ridley would be a good hook for them to say, yeah, I want to be a Ridley Ranger too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was his registered name.
Ridley Ranger.
Yep. Because when we got him, that was my goal, was to help find the nests that were difficult to locate. Because you look for nests. It can be incredibly difficult.
It takes a skill to be able to find them and experience them.
Absolutely. And sometimes, despite hours of looking, we can't do it. And his first nest, I was 17 miles down the beach. And Linda Reed, whose family roots go way, way back on this island, and we hope to have her be a guest star too. She was one of the turtle patrollers, and she called on the radio to dispatch, say, bring Ridley in, bring Ridley in. Well, he'd been trained, but he never had been given a nest to find that we didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
my husband,
that's great.
Yep, my husband brought him in. Nobody was there, and within minutes he called to the lab and said, what do you want me to do with these eggs? Because Ridley found them, and he was so proud. And it was really incredible. Wow. They used to say, find the nest for mama. You know, it sounds kind of corny for a PhD biologist, but I do think that dog was doing a job for me, and he knew it made me happy.
Yeah.
So, and so.
Your dog was way better trained than mine.
Well.
We love our doggy.
Well, you know, terriers are very stubborn, and so he didn't listen a lot of the time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You got to keep a terrier.
We only remember the good parts, though.
You got to. Well, no, but he wanted to help with the turtles. He listened then. Yeah. But at home, like, you know, he'd see whether he wanted to do it or not.
Yeah.
His sister, and he'd trick his little sister too. He's very smart. He liked to eat. In fact, there's a good story about it. When I wanted to get a dog to help find the nests, and my husband was researching breeds, and he came across a Cairn Terrier, and he found that there was a family that had some Cairn Terrier pups in Turtle Cove, of all places. And there were 4 little pups around the food bowl, and one tail was wagging. That was Ridley's. So I know, look at that. And then one of the 4 liked to go out in the yard and sniff around with the females while the others just kind of laid left. That was Ridley. So that's how we picked Ridley.
Wow.
And so it was like it was meant to be for Turtle Cove. And it was really remarkable. And I would even have video of him when I'd say turtle, and he'd see on TV there'd be a turtle, and he'd stand up on his rear legs, and he loved the turtles. So,
well, Parker wants to be a veterinarian.
Veterinarian, so. That's awesome. Well,
she loves animals.
Well, just keep studying hard, and the sky's the limit. You've got a great family to support you, that believe in education and believe in giving back and trying to help others. And so you're very fortunate, and of course there's lots of people love you because they love your dad and they love your grandfather. So that's a wonderful thing too. And we sure appreciate your help on those social media videos. Educating public. What grade are you in? 5th grade. What school do you go to?
And Cynthia, the lady behind the camera.
Got Facebook Live.
Yeah. how the operation is done here. This is actually a Facebook Live. If y'all have any questions, put them in the comments. Cynthia and Dr. Shaver will be there to answer them. Whatever questions you have.
It's still early. We've got a lot of years to discover that. It's like a canvas that anything can be painted on. So much potential. Well, I also wanted to talk about the sad finding that Alicia reported to me of that predated nest yesterday.
Ooh.
On San Jose
Yeah.
Island. It was at one of those sites where tracks were found and they couldn't locate the nest.
Yeah.
And that just, again, demonstrates, as we have so many times, that nests left unprotected on these Texas beaches right now just do not stand much of a chance. But it's important she documented it. And
well, that happened last year too.
Yeah.
We didn't find out until a day later, and it just takes, you know, one evening, and the coyotes come in. Or like this last week, we had Tropical Storm Cristobal, which brought water all the way up to the dunes, and some of these turtles are nesting just right above the high tide line.
right, they wouldn't stand a chance.
Right, exactly. So the work that y'all are doing is so important.
Well, we had Dr. Tussaud with us earlier this week, and he said that beaches now are an engineered system. They're not natural as they were before. You've got jetties, you've got sand mining, and dredging, and areas that are starved of sand, areas that have a higher accumulation, and so we have to take these, to say the critically endangered Kemp's Ridley turtle. We've used practices that Cynthia learned down in Mexico, and Cynthia worked there, got her training down at Rancho Nuevo for several years.
I've seen some of those pictures.
Yeah. The corral, the same techniques that helped save the species from extinction, where for decades they put virtually every clutch into a protected corral, and the numbers increased rapidly.
Wow.
And so we know it had been successful to help save them then, and so we're using that, and then our facility as well. And the survival strategy for Kemp's Ridley is called predator swamping. The Kemp's Ridley tends to nest in synchronous aggregations called arabadas, where the turtles come in at one time, and then the thought is the eggs hatch at pretty much the same time, and there's so many hatchlings going into the water that the predators couldn't possibly eat them all. Kemp's Ridley hatchlings are slower than the loggerheads and greens, but you can be slower if there's thousands of you. You just have to be the one that makes it in successfully. But here in Texas, we don't have enough numbers to swamp the predators by a long shot. Just like you said, the coyotes will come in within 24 hours. And then the nuisance coastal flooding that Dr. Tussaud talked about earlier this week, which has increased in prevalence. So with this critically endangered species, we take these protective measures, and it's authorized under our permits and agreed upon by the authorities in Texas and with the Kemp's Ridley Working Group. And they've been successful, and we're so excited that we know that our numbers of nests have been going up. But we wanted to see, were the hatchlings that we were releasing coming back to nest? People would ask us that all the time. Well, we don't tag the little ones. There's no known way to tag this tiny, fragile turtle. So we have had a program, Turtle CSI, for many years, where we tried to match the nests of unknown maternity. So we don't know mom, we just found a nest, and then the nest where we want to match the nests of unknown maternity to the nesting turtles that we've seen. So we take a small tissue sample from the females, samples from the dead embryos, send them off to the genetics lab, and we've done this for decades, and then they match them. And they've been pretty successful with that. But this year we said, well, let's go and find the second generation. Let's see if we can prove that some of these turtles are coming back from those that we're releasing. And indeed, at the Southeast Regional Sea Turtle Network meeting, we showed the data that had just been found for the first time that hatchlings we released 12 to 16 years ago are indeed coming back to nest here.
Wow.
So that's really
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah, that is great.
But I also want to say, Jace, that the cooperation is critical, because what I found through my satellite tracking is that these females move a lot in between clutches. They lay on an average 2.5 to 3 times during the nesting season. Obviously, you can't lay a half a clutch, so that's the average over everybody. But they move around because there's a lot of sharks out there. You just can't sit there waiting. So what I believe is that when the conditions are right for nesting, if they're not necessarily right back here where they made their clutch before, they may nest on Mustang Island. In your pulse where you had of 3 turtles that nested this week, one had previously nested on San Jose, and 2 had nested previously at Padre Island National Seashore. So I jokingly say traders, but the truth is, it's critical we collaborate, because what if the turtles were protected there? We could do everything we want to protect them here, but if they occasionally go nest up there and they're in danger, then our efforts are not going to be nearly as effective. So I wanted to pass that along. I didn't have a chance to tell Alicia. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome.
All 3 of them had nested there at Mustang this year.
Wow.
Yeah, but the conditions were right. That front was, that very unusual June cold front was coming through. I had everybody on high alert. Hey, I think there's going to be nesting.
There's been so many people on the beach, at least on the weekends. I'm surprised any turtles are coming out, but they find a way.
They do find a way. Some are more tolerant than others, and for those of you just tuning in, the Kemps really nest mostly during the day. People that are used to other sea turtle species, those nest mostly at night. So the Kemps really has the additional challenge they're going to come up and try to share the beach during when the public is there in the nesting season. But that's why public education is so critical, so that we get their assistance. And what we do see is some more tolerant than others, some very skittish, and it's important that we teach people to not rush up to the nesting turtles when they see them, report the nest to us immediately, because they're really hard to find. And then some are, the shy ones seem to be, we've got this big congregation on San Jose this year that I think are probably those that are just wanting to get away from it all.
Yeah, record year on San Jose this year. Wow.
But the beaches have been so crowded since COVID. People just want to get out in the fresh air.
Yeah.
And Mustang and us all the way down to about at least the 5-mile marker, it's just been packed. Even during weekdays sometimes.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'd be called by some reporters and say, well, are the turtles doing any better this year because the people aren't out on the beach? And I'd laugh and say, they're out on the beach here.
Right.
Then we've got Catherine Tunnell here, who is the volunteer of Jace. But actually, she's a professional also, who does great things on post-event-based estuaries program, running their public education efforts. And so we're so blessed to have her here helping to photograph and cover this event for us. Boy, we got a package deal with the Tunnell family of four social media aides. That's great. Yes, Jack is a superstar. And this is Jack Tunnell, and he is in a prize-winning video. Show these cups being washed out in a rainstorm in Corpus Christi Bay. You want to talk about that? competitions, and is Jack's reaction just as a child seeing, it was unbelievable how many pups were flowing into Corpus Christi Bay. And you'll really help with this poem because you'll be able to reach kids where we adults can talk to kids sometimes and they tune off their ears. They're going to listen to you, so I thank you for your help with that. Thank you for raising awareness.
Okay, let's see over here. Now, as a reminder, if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask any questions. Dr. Donna Shaver and Cynthia are going to be on the line, and they'll be able to answer any questions you got in the comments section. As the water comes up, they get their first taste of salt water and head back to the ocean as the sun is coming up.
This is Dr. Donna Shaver from Dr. Donna Line at 645. We're going to wrap it up today with Jace Tunnell and his family. And we're so thrilled to have had them here with us today to cover the hatchling release. Very special occasion for us. Thank you so much for your support. Stay safe, be kind. Have a great day.
Okay, so we're wrapping it up here. If y'all have any questions, like I said, Dr. Donna Shaver is going to be on the line, as well as Cynthia Rubio to answer any questions you got. And with that, we'll see y'all later.